Today our topic is the Stoic view on facing your fears. Stoicism is an ancient philosophy that teaches us how to live a good life, even when things are hard. It is not about avoiding problems or pretending that everything is perfect. Instead, it is about facing challenges with courage and wisdom. One of the biggest challenges we all face is fear. Fear can stop us from living fully, from taking risks, and from becoming the best version of ourselves. But the Stoics believe that fear is not something to run away from. Instead, it is something we can understand, manage, and even use to grow stronger. Let's explore how Stoicism can help us face our fears and live a more peaceful and meaningful life. First, the Stoics teach us that fear is often based on things we cannot control. For example, we might fear losing our job, getting sick, or being rejected by someone we care about. These fears are natural, but the Stoics remind us that many of these things are not in our hands. We cannot control whether our boss decides to fire us, or whether we get sick, or whether someone likes us or not. What we can control is how we respond to these situations. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This means that instead of worrying about things we cannot change, we should focus on our own thoughts and actions. We can choose to face our fears with calmness and courage rather than letting them control us. Another important Stoic idea is that fear often comes from our imagination. When we are afraid, we tend to imagine the worst-case scenario. For example, if we are afraid of public speaking, we might imagine forgetting our words, or people laughing at us, or being embarrassed in front of everyone. But the Stoics remind us that these fears are often exaggerated. Most of the time, the worst-case scenario does not happen, and even if it does, it is usually not as bad as we imagine. The Stoic philosopher Seneca said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." This means that our fears are often much bigger in our minds than they are in real life. To overcome fear, we need to question our thoughts and ask ourselves if they are really true. Often we will find that our fears are not as scary as we thought. The Stoics also teach us that facing our fears is an opportunity to grow. When we avoid our fears, we stay stuck in the same place. But when we face them, we become stronger and more confident. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius said, "The obstacle is the way." This means that the challenges we face are not just problems to be solved, but opportunities to become better. For example, if we are afraid of failure, we can choose to see failure as a teacher. Every time we fail, we learn something new and become more resilient. Instead of fearing failure, we can embrace it as part of the journey towards success. This shift in perspective can help us face our fears with courage and determination. One practical way the Stoics suggest facing fear is through preparation. They believed that by preparing for the worst, we can reduce our fear of it. For example, if we are afraid of losing our job, we can save money, learn new skills, and build a strong network of contacts. This way, even if the worst happens, we are ready for it. The Stoic philosopher Seneca practiced something called premeditatio malorum, which means premeditation of evils. This is when you imagine the worst-case scenario and think about how you would handle it. By doing this, you realize that you can survive even the worst situations. This reduces your fear and helps you feel more in control. Another Stoic practice for facing fear is to focus on the present moment. Often, fear comes from worrying about the future. We might fear what will happen tomorrow, next week, or next year. But the Stoics remind us that the future is not here yet, and we cannot control it. The only moment we have is the present. By focusing on what we can do right now, we can reduce our fear and take action. Marcus Aurelius said, "Do not disturb yourself by picturing your life as a whole. Do not assemble in your mind the many and varied troubles which have come to you in the past and will come again in the future, but ask yourself with regard to every present difficulty, what is there in this that is unbearable and beyond endurance?" This means that when we focus on the present, we often find that our fears are smaller and more manageable than we thought. The Stoics also teach us that fear is often a sign that we care about something. For example, if we are afraid of losing someone we love, it is because we care about them. If we are afraid of failing at work, it is because we care about our career. Instead of seeing fear as something negative, we can see it as a sign of what matters to us. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." This means that when we care about something, we might feel afraid of looking foolish or making mistakes. But this fear is a sign that we are trying to grow and improve. Instead of avoiding fear, we can embrace it as part of the process of becoming better. Finally, the Stoics remind us that fear is a natural part of life. Everyone feels fear, even the bravest people. What matters is not whether we feel fear, but how we respond to it. The Stoic philosopher Seneca said, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." This means that life is full of challenges, and it takes courage to face them. But every time we face our fears, we become a little stronger and a little braver. Over time, we build the habit of courage, and fear loses its power over us. In conclusion, the Stoic view on facing your fears is not about eliminating fear, but about understanding and managing it. Fear is often based on things we cannot control, and it is often exaggerated by our imagination. But by preparing for the worst, focusing on the present, and seeing fear as an opportunity to grow, we can face our fears with courage and wisdom. The Stoics remind us that fear is a natural part of life, and it is a sign that we care about something. Instead of avoiding fear, we can embrace it as part of the journey toward becoming the best version of ourselves. As Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realizes this, and you will find strength. So let us face our fears with courage, knowing that we have the power to choose how we respond to them. This is the Stoic way to live a peaceful and meaningful life.